Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of the Eat Me podcast. This is Alicia, and I am so excited because I have Michelle. It's Petties, right?
Yes,
Yes,
Pettis.
I'll make sure I said it right. Listen, because here's the thing, y'all. I will see someone's last name, and sometimes I don't even ask. And then here I am, like completely butchering it. And I understand that because people, for some reason, even though my name's Alicia, people call me everything but Alicia. So I always try to be mindful of how to pronounce people's names because that's been my life. So
So, Alicia, I'm glad you told that story, but I don't really get wound up if people mispronounce my name because I know it's unusual. But if they get the P, the T, and the S, I'll generally say what? Yeah.
love that.
If they get
The
close.
T and the S. I love that. That is everything. But y'all, I'm so glad that Michelle is here on the podcast. I'm really excited because we have similar stories as it relates to our journey with like weight loss and eating and things like that. So this is going to be an awesome conversation because but even before I hit record, we were just kind of like vibing and just, really talking through where, the certain like aha moments were for us as it relates to eating and our weight loss journeys and that yo-yo dieting and all the crazy things that kind of lead us to that point of like, okay, I've got to make this change for me and my health and how I move forward in this life. So, like I said, thank you so much for being here. And y'all, I am even more impressed with Michelle because she had a major transition today, y'all, where she had to like uproot herself and then be at her hotel lobby waiting for her hotel. So this is going to be an awesome and fun conversation because she is like stepping outside of her box to do this for me. So I am and for herself and for all of us. So thank you, Michelle, for being in this beautiful hotel lobby. There's like some cute little light over there. Like the scenery is beautiful, if anything.
They tell me something. This area was closed, and so I went and asked them if they would open it for me. The guy was so nice. So shout out to the little restaurant at the Wyndham in Duluth for the I don't even know his name, but I'm going to give him a nice big juicy tip for bringing me 2 cups of tea and turning
I love
the
it.
light on for me.
That is beautiful. I love it. Also, he turned the light on and everything for you. Yes. Okay, sir. I love this. I love this. This is
And
great.
he, what the lesson for me in that was I'm here in this space because I asked for it.
Mm,
And I asked for it, and the guy was willing to help me. He wanted to help me. He accommodated, and then he did something little extra. Right? He did something a
yes.
little extra. But sometimes we get in this space, especially around food, right? Where
Mm,
we're not at a place where we can ask for what we
mm,
want for our
right.
bodies. We just accept what's there. We
Right.
don't even know to ask for something different. We
Right.
don't even honor the fact that we can get something different. Yeah.
Right. I love that you just brought that up because I feel like in a lot of ways, many people don't realize one, to ask for something different, and then also be in a position to accept that different thing. Because it's one thing, like you said, obviously we can acknowledge the fact that not everyone has that wherewithal to say, okay, can I have something different? But then once
Hmm.
you're offered that, because it's something different, right? Sometimes something that's different can be scary. Sometimes we're not willing to receive it because it's so strange to us.
Right.
And so I think this kind of leads into like us talking about your story. Where did that difference for you like kind of shape into how you started moving in this whole path of like trying to find a healthier way to move forward with like your eating habits and all that kind of stuff?
Okay. So the first thing, there's so many different directions I can go with that question.
Right.
But the first thing, I didn't even start down this road because of health. I wasn't,
Mm,
Alicia, I wasn't trying to be healthier. I was just trying to wear cuter clothes. I mean,
yes. Same.
it wasn't even really that deep. It was deep from the standpoint of, I was in the mirror every day, and I didn't, deep down, I didn't like what I saw. It wasn't
Yeah.
even like I didn't feel good because I was so used to feeling the way I felt. I didn't know that I could feel any differently. Right? I
Ah.
didn't know I could have a different energy level. I didn't know that
Mm,
I could just move in my body differently. We get 80 to 90% of our information through our eyes. So
yeah.
all I saw was what I saw. And what I saw
Mm,
was different than what I wanted to be. But for years, I had struggled because I didn't have the tools to maintain what that difference was. What that difference was. with
Right.
the yo-yo dieting. So,
Right.
I spent 40 years from the time that I was 20 until the time that I was 60 on this yo-yo diet hamster wheel. I mean, that
Yeah.
was 700 pounds.
Yeah.
700 pounds, lose 30, gain 40, lose 40, gain 50, lose 50, gain 60, and not understand why.
Right.
So that was like this place where I had 5 different sizes of clothes in my closet, right? And the stuff I couldn't wear, I didn't like, right? Didn't look
Right.
good. I mean, everything looked better on the hanger, right?
Right.
Everything looked like crap, and it didn't care. And it didn't care how much money I spent on it.
Yeah.
So I was looking through some old pictures like a while back, and I looked at ones, and that was the part of the issue. Part of the challenge was, I was living what many by any many measures would seem like a successful life. I
Mm.
had a great career, I was making lots of money, right?
Right.
But I was unhealthy and didn't know it. I was
Mm.
stressed and didn't know it. Because sometimes the trappings, the trappings distract us. The
Yeah.
trappings distract us, and we get so, or at least I got so defeated around this weight issue that I just leaned into the thing that I knew how to do, which was
Yeah.
be successful in my career. And so if I just focused on that, then maybe I can just be okay with
Mm.
how I look, right? But I
Right.
wasn't, because I had to face it every day. I had to look at it every day, and
Right.
it was impacting my confidence, and I didn't even realize it. But
Right.
back to the aha moment when things started to make a shift for me, and I appreciate what you said earlier about having the gastric bypass and not gastric sleeve,
Yeah.
having the gastric sleeve, and afterward it not like being the panacea that you thought it was going to be, even
Yeah.
though you didn't use that word exactly. But you also said was something extreme had to happen.
Yeah.
And so the extreme thing that happened for me was this. And there were a number of things that led up to this moment, but this was the extreme thing that happened. I had gotten to a point where I had gone to a doctor, and I said, help me. Right. I had gone to the doctor and I had said, help me. And I had been to doctors. I've been going to bariatric doctors since the 1980s. Before,
Wow.
and I didn't even know what a bariatric doctor was the first time I went to one. Right. I never heard
Right.
the word. Right. And that was in the 1980s when I was diagnosed as being morbidly obese for the first time. Right.
Mm.
Over the course of the years, I've been to many doctors. I've been on many low calorie doctor supervised plans, but always gained the weight back.
Yeah.
So I was going to this doctor because I had lost some weight and I was feeling pretty good, and I was going to her, but I needed more weight to lose. And she said, I can help you with that. I'm like, no, I'm good. I got it. Because I had some liposuction. I had some
Right.
liposuction. It had some of the stuff sucked out, and I had got down to a 14, what I call a
Yeah.
black woman's 10. And I was like,
Yes.
good, right. I'm a 14.
That's everything.
I got this 14. And so but I started getting the weight back because I had said if I can just get there, I can maintain it. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that I didn't have the mental, I didn't have the skills,
Yeah.
not even like the mental capacity. I didn't have the know-how.
Yeah.
So what happens is on this journey, when people are wearing this disease, when you see people
Mm.
wearing this disease of food addiction and obesity, it is not a moral failure. It is just the fact that they don't have the skill. They don't have the know-how to do something different.
Right.
They haven't been taught, they haven't learned. But there in their society, there are things in the society that keep us from that misdirect us. I'll get to that, but I want to get back to my story.
Right.
So the doctor said, all right, I can help you follow this plan, take these shots, you will not be hungry. And so she gave me the piece of paper. I'd gotten pieces of paper before. I looked at
Right.
it, okay, I'm gonna follow this plan, I'm gonna take these shots. She says I'm not gonna be hungry. The thing that I did different in that meeting, with that doctor's office, was that I prayed, help me, God help me understand what I'm missing. I have been struggling with this for 40 years. There's something wrong with me.
Mm.
I said there's something wrong with me. I just, right?
Right.
That doctor asked me. She must have asked me 1,000 questions, and I talk about that in my book, because I wrote a book
Yeah.
about this once I got to the other side. Leaving Large: The Stories of a Food Addict, a shameless plug, which you can go directly to the website and get from me,
Okay, talk to me
leavinglarge.com.
about the book 'cause
Right,
I want to
right,
talk about it. So no, this
right.
is perfect. Perfect.
I'll sign it and send it to you and invite you to one of my writing workshops. But anyway, so that's what she said. And things were moving along. I was losing weight, just like she said.
Hmm.
And she was all excited. I was excited. And then there came a moment when I wanted to eat. And I stopped and I said to myself, why do I want to eat? Because I'm not hungry. The doctor said if I take these shots, if I follow this plan, I will not be hungry. And I wasn't.
Right.
And I wasn't hungry, but I wanted to eat. And I had to sit with that. I was 60 years old. I had never asked myself the question, why do I want to eat right now? I had never asked myself that question. And when that question came up and I was sitting just contemplating the decision,
Yeah.
not just the automatic response to food, but the decision to eat,
Mm.
a story bubbled up. And I don't know if you can tell by listening to me, but I am from the South. I grew
Yeah.
up in Marshall, Texas, in a little farming country town, and we had a cookout. It was a barbecue cookout thing at my uncle's house, and we black folk, right? So we barbecuing and we're cooking out. So we brought out watermelon,
Yeah.
and when we brought out the watermelon, I asked my uncle if he wanted some watermelon, and my uncle said, "No, I don't eat watermelon."
Mm.
He said, I don't eat watermelon. And I heard him at the time. This was in the 1990s sometimes. He was almost 70 years old.
Yeah.
I heard him, but I didn't hear him.
Mm.
But he said, I don't eat watermelon, which I'm like, which is different. That's different language. I don't eat it.
Right.
So I said, well, why don't you eat it? Do you not like it? Or are you
Right.
allergic to? I mean, what, do you want some? You don't want it now? You want it later? He said, no, I just don't eat it. Well, I'm like, there's got to be a reason that you don't eat it. Why don't you eat it? He said, I just don't eat it. So I kept pestering him. And he finally told me that when he was a little kid in Marshall, Texas in the 90s, he and some buddies decided to steal a watermelon.
Mm.
And when his father, who was my grandfather, found out about it, he was very upset.
Right.
He wasn't happy at all. And the thing about my grandfather was a church trustee and my grandfather was a railroad worker. And the one person that a kid that just stole a watermelon does not want to meet is that guy.
Right.
So when my grandfather found out that my uncle had stolen this watermelon, he beat him.
Mm.
He beat him so severely that he never ate watermelon again. Because that beating happened in the 1930s. My uncle and I were having this conversation in the 90s.
Wow.
So for 6 decades, he did not eat a food that he loved as a boy, had no desire for it.
Wow.
I don't eat it.
Yeah.
And so when I heard the story, it landed, it saddened me. But I asked him, I said, well, Billy, now that you look back on it, do you think maybe the lesson was supposed to be, thou shalt not steal?
Right.
Right? Yeah, that the lesson? And he just looked at me and said, I don't eat watermelon. And that was the end of the story.
Right.
So I had an inkling there, but I didn't understand what that story meant until I was sitting in my house and wondering why I wanted to eat when I wasn't hungry. And what came up was this. It was just, in my mind, it was the answer from God, Alicia.
Yeah.
My uncle did not eat watermelon, had no desire for watermelon because of the extreme thing that happened to him, because of the memory, because of the event, because of the experience. That I will beat the taste out your mouth, that
Yeah.
happened to him, right?
Right.
That happened to
Right.
him. And when I thought about that story, I said, oh my God, that the opposite is the truth for me. The food that I crave, the food that I can't stop eating, the food that I'm always eating, the stuff that's sugary, the stuff that's fat, right? The stuff that's salty, the stuff that tastes so good, is because of the memory, the experience, and the event that I associate with that stuff. The
Mm.
association is so strong and so pleasurable, is that I think I want the food, but what I want is the memory and the event that it experiences associated to it and what it means to me.
Wow.
And
Wow.
when I got that realization, everything shifted for me.
Mm.
When I started to understand that the connection and association that between food and feeling is so primal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we can separate them. And when we in a moment can decide and figure out that I want what that food represents, I want the experience, I want the memory, I want that, I want the love, I want the status, right? I
Right.
want the comfort, I want the comfort that it reminds me of, not the food. I want the feeling. And when you realize that you can get the feeling, you can access the memory without the food.
Yeah.
That's freedom. That's freedom. That's freedom.
Yeah.
That's freedom.
That is beautiful, first of all, because I think a lot of people are in that space. And I, at one point, was definitely in that space where I didn't ever ask myself those questions like, why am I hungry? Like, or why do I think I'm hungry? Right. I literally just ate something. Right. And now my body's saying that I'm hungry. There's something going on. And so it's
Yep.
really sitting down and like taking that time to be with yourself. Cause I think that's another thing too, is a lot of us just don't really communicate with ourselves. Because
Right.
I remember growing up, a lot of the older people, "Oh, you talking to yourself? That means you're crazy."
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So you just never take the time to just be with yourself because that could be you're talking to yourself, you're crazy type of mentality or whatever. So it's like really us. I think if anything for me in this journey with eating, it has been me understanding who I am. And that has been freeing for
Yes.
me in
Yes.
so many ways.
Yes. Yes. And you are right on point. I mean, we have to have these conversations to ourselves because the way we manage food or mismanage food or abuse food, because it is abuse to eat when you're not hungry. It is
Yeah.
abuse to eat, to use some food for some reason other than nutrition, nourishment, and energy.
Mm.
But you're on point about having this conversation. And I have a tool. I have a tool that I give people to help them have that conversation. And I use it. I use it to this day. And it is a series of questions that I use before everything I eat every day.
Wow.
Before I put
Okay.
anything in my mouth, I ask myself, first of all, is this really food? Because,
That right there. Whoa. Whoa.
right,
That's mind keep going, but that's mind blowing. I'll get back to that. That's mind blowing
okay,
to me.
yeah, is this
Yeah.
really food? Because this culture, this process culture has us thinking that snack foods, junk food, and fast food is actually nourishing and food for our body, and it is not. It's actually poison. So we are paying for poison. We are paying the high price to poison ourselves with all the stuff that's in this toxic food environment that's being promoted to us day in and day out.
Yeah.
Right? So the first question is it food? Is this really food? Is it safe? Right?
Mm.
Is it safe? Because we're so trusting. We think just because we went to Whole Foods, and I hope Whole Foods isn't a sponsor, we think just because we went to Whole Foods that it's okay to eat it. We think just
Right.
because they serve it in a restaurant it's okay to eat it. We think that just because somebody we love made it for us, it's okay to eat it. Right? We think that it's not. Not that they have any sort of malicious intention or that they even
Right.
know, but we have to
Right.
ask for our own bodies, for our own life
Yeah.
ourselves. Is this really food? Is it safe? Am I hungry or am I something else?
Mm.
It is just that's a question. Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I frustrated? Am I tired? Was I hungry 5 minutes ago? Who just called me? What did I just see on the screen? What did I just hear in the news? What did I just see? Did something take me to some place of pain and discomfort that I feel like I need something to separate me from that?
Yes.
Is it really hungry? What if I just wait 15 minutes? Am I still gonna feel this way? Am I willing to do that?
Mm.
Am I hungry? Am I something else? Other thing is, if this food will not give me the body, the life, the health I say that I want, why am I eating it?
Yo.
So we got to have a reason. We got to have a goal. Is this food gonna get me here? Because we are trapped into thinking that food is the end. It is not. It is just a means to an end. So we have to
Mm.
decide, how do I want to live? How I want to feel? How do I want to show up? What is my end game? What is my end goal? And eat to get to that. Use food for what it is. It's a tool. Make a decision. I deserve this kind of life. I deserve to look like this. I deserve to feel like this. I deserve to show up like this. And in order to get that, I need to eat this way. I need to eat to fuel my brain, right? I need to eat for cognition, for proficiency, for performance, for productivity, right?
Right.
That. So am I hungry? Am I something else? Why this food now? That's the last question. Why this particular food now? Why
Mm.
this what now? Because that, but you have to really dial into what am I really feeling? Am I hungry or am I something else? Which will inform that question of why this food now? Is
Hmm.
I will tell you something. I'm sitting here and talking to you as a sugar addict, right? As a sugar addict in recovery, as a food addict, a processed food addict in recovery, and
Hmm.
I remember times, and I write about this in my book, going to going to the grocery store and buying a big 4 pack of brand muffins. And the brand, those muffins that they sell in the grocery store, they're filled with flour, fat, sugar.
Yeah.
One muffin is 700 calories. I
Wow.
remember going to the grocery store many times because I wanted brand muffins, and I would go to my car. I would eat all 4 of them in the 4 pack before I ever left the parking lot. I
Wow.
wouldn't stop until I ate all 4 of them. And the empty package is just like sitting beside me on the seat. And I'm like this, like laying back like the addict that I was.
Right. Wow.
But here's the thing, I wanted brand muffins. If it was just the fact that I was a sugar addict, hell, I could have just bought a bag of sugar and ate that. I could have got a
Right.
Snickers bar. I could have got M's. I could have got corn muffins. I could have got chocolate chip muffins, banana muffins, any of them. I could have got
Right.
cake, cookies, if it was just the sugar.
Right.
But something else was driving me. I wanted bran muffins.
Mm.
So I could have eaten blueberry muffins, but I still would have eaten the bran muffins because I had the
Right.
and here's what I realized is that, like I said, I grew up in a small country farming town. I grew up with my grandmother.
Right.
My grandmother was all about being regular. And so
I love it. Listen, I hear you loud and clear. I hear you.
she made bran muffins all the time, but she used all bran. It didn't have the sugar, but it was a big deal for her when she made those muffins. So she would make those muffins, and I would be in the kitchen with her, and she loved them, and we would talk. And it was like it was a sweet, comforting moment, right? And so when I think back on those times, although I don't remember specifically what I was going through, I was going through something
Mm.
that made me feel the need to be connected to her. That's why I wanted the bread, because it was something that was going on. Surely I was hungry. It was breakfast generally, so I was
Right.
hungry. I wanted some real food, right?
Right.
But I didn't give my body real food. I gave it that stuff that wasn't nourishing at all, even though even though the food was connected to this memory.
Right.
So that's why it had to be brand muffins. I was talking to one of my clients, and we were talking about this, and she said, my wife and I we were beefing. We've been beefing all week, and I found myself at a Mexican restaurant. I don't even like Mexican food all that much, but it is my wife's favorite.
Wow.
So she was right.
That is, and this is what's so wild to me. I just remember you in the beginning. Just it's like all coming together in terms of like what your uncle was saying. It's wild how these different experiences in our lives, that feeling, you just want that feeling from that experience, whatever that brings you comfort or whatever. I mean, his story is different as it relates to like, I'm not eating watermelon because of that experience. I don't want that experience again. So let me not eat watermelon because that experience could happen again. Right.
Right, right.
But for people like us, those experiences that brought comfort or whatever, it leads us to having these cravings for certain foods. That is so interesting. That never clicked for me until this conversation. I'm not even joking. The
Yeah.
whole experience thing
Yes.
around craving certain foods.
Yes.
This is
Yeah.
wild.
It's the same process but flipped. But let me tell you what's even deeper about my uncle's story and how people kind of get trapped. It's like, first of all, it was summertime. They stole a watermelon. My uncle, they probably weren't even hungry. They were probably thirsty. They were probably thirsty. So how many times do we eat and we mistake hunger for thirst?
Yes.
Right? So it was summertime in 1930s Marshall, Texas. It was a bunch of little black kids, little black boys, 6 or 7 years old, right?
Right.
They didn't have skateboards and bicycles and anything else. They had to do something because they were probably bored. So
Right.
let's steal a watermelon. It was exciting to them. It was adventure. It was like going to Six Flags. That's what they were doing. They were going to Six,
Right.
and they were in a pack. If
Mm.
my uncle had been by himself, he wouldn't have just walked by that watermelon patch and said, "I think I'm gonna steal a watermelon and eat it." It was a
Right.
group. So how many times are you just sitting at home by yourself? You just ate, and somebody says, "Girl, we going to brunch. You want to go?" And you say, "Yeah, I'm coming. Where? Let me get
Yep.
my purse. Where y'all going?" Right?
Yep.
Not even hungry, but it's this group thing. I don't want to miss out. I want to do what everybody else. That sounds like it's going to be fun.
Yep.
We're not listening to our bodies. We're not even thinking about food. We're not even hungry. But the group says, let's go do something entertaining, like go to brunch. I'm in. What we
Right.
doing, right? It's all of that is wrapped up in that story. Here's the other thing that's wrapped up in that story. My grandfather. The reason my grandfather beat my uncle was this. He was a hard working man. He had an awful lot of pride. He wasn't going to let anybody think that he couldn't afford to take care of his family, so much so that his own one and only son has to steal food.
Right.
Right? This is coming from and we all have, especially if depending on where we grow up. If we grow up, just a few generations from people that grew up poor and didn't have food, the way we deal with food from through a lens of lack. Right. So that lens of lack drives us. Oh, I can't go to bed hungry. I got to get some. I got to go get some. I got to eat before I go to bed. Why?
Right.
Because in the old days, if you ate before you went to bed, that meant you're going to wake up hungry because there was nothing to eat. Right. Because you didn't
Yeah.
have the money to provide. But we're not in that situation now. We got plenty. We don't have to. We can go to bed hungry. It's not something to be ashamed of. Right.
Right.
So he beat him that. The other thing is that in addition to not having people to think that he couldn't afford to take care of his family, he didn't want anybody thinking that he was raising a thief.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not going to happen in the Pettis family. I'm not raising a thief.
Right.
And more importantly, why that is, he beat him to save his life. I know
Yeah.
now, where we are in 20, 24, 25, the corporal punishment, all, time out and all that wasn't my grandfather's way. But
Right.
here's the thing. In 1930s segregated Marshall, Texas, he had to make sure that his son wouldn't steal anything from the wrong person, because that meant they would kill him. He
Yeah.
could be lynched if he stole from the wrong person. He had to make sure he got that lesson. And if it meant he never ate watermelon again in his life, he got it mixed up. I'm pretty certain my uncle got the story that pretty certain he got the I'm not supposed to steal story too. Right.
Right. He's like, I'm not. Listen, I'm saving my life. No watermelon for me. I'm done.
Right.
Like seriously, you know.
So all of that, all this stuff is so connected. The experiences, the memories, the events, the trauma, the extreme stuff that happens to us with food informs our decisions and our choices and how we feel about it every day. And we have to go back and unpack all that. We have to go
Yeah.
back and unpack it, and we have to rewrite a new story that ultimately leads to our freedom. And that's what I teach people how to do. Is that we are driven by these stories. Sometimes they're conscious, sometimes they're subconscious, sometimes they're unconscious. But how we manage food has everything to do with what we believe about the food. It's just like
Wow.
somebody says, "I don't eat seafood because I'm allergic." That's a food story, but they don't eat it. It's conscious, right?
Right.
But it's real clear. I don't eat it because I'm allergic. That's right.
Right.
Somebody says, I don't. Well, there's no way I'm going to be a vegetarian because that means I can't eat meat. That's because they have a belief that having meat for their meal has to do with being prosperous, right? That it
Right.
has to do with status. It's not connected to health or life or anything. They don't know that you can have that diet. Not that it works for everybody, but
Right.
your health ultimately is going to be better in the long run, right?
Right.
And you're going to protect yourself from a bunch of disease if you're not worried about the status that's related to it, or that kind of thing. Oh, I don't want to
Right.
eat beans every day. Well, why not if it's going to save your life?
Right. That's so interesting because I'm vegan,
Mm-hmm.
and people are always in that. When they hear I'm vegan, they're like, "You're vegan? What do you eat? What do you eat?" That's always a
Mm-hmm.
thing. Uh, and like you said, you just eat beans all the time, and it's just and you can see as they're going down that whole road in their mind, like, God, your
Right.
life must be horrible. Just so you can see it in their face. I
Right.
kid you.
Right.
And that makes sense because for me, I always thought of it as people were so worried about, well, you're not going to get enough protein or whatever. But that whole idea, I never thought of the idea of the prosperity component around it because that is something. Like if you have meat, that means you can afford some things. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? And I even remember my mother, like she's passed, but that was a thing that with her, a lot of the stories that you were just saying, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just like bringing back memories from when just hanging around with my mother and my aunts and all that kind of stuff because it's like that whole idea around having certain things as it relates to food, which I know a lot of my issues were because of that. My family grew up in poverty. And so when they had the ability, right, to provide, it was like eat as much as you want.
Right. Exactly.
Eat, eat,
Exactly.
eat. Because that shows that we're rich.
Mm-hmm.
And because there were no actual like boundaries on food, food was something I always went to, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing I wanted to know with you when it came to you growing up and being exposed to food, was
Mm-hmm.
that a similar thing for you where food was like status, which was even more complicated because it's like, okay, I can eat whatever I want because I'm able to. Like, was that a part of your journey, like trying to like break all this down?
So yeah, so the food and status thing didn't happen for me until I left home and went to college. And I
Mm,
started working, well, not even when I left home and went to college, when I started waiting tables. I started waiting tables in high school. Not high
uh,
school, after I finished high school before I went to college. And I got exposed to fine dining and what other folk ate and what that looked like. It opened a
right.
whole world to me. And but I grew up being taught to eat for nutrition. My grandparents were farmers, so they taught me that, but I fought against it. I was a budding sugar addict early on because of different things, some trauma that I experienced in my life, and other
Yeah.
things that were going on that kind of sent me down that road. But I didn't know that that's what it was, right?
Mm,
And this is a complicated story. This is a complicated story, a complicated journey for many of us, right? So
yeah.
part of my story is that I was struggling with a sexual childhood trauma, sexual childhood abuse, right? That right? And when I look at the numbers when I look at the obesity rates and the connection to childhood sexual abuse, the numbers are staggering. But people don't always make the connection. So you can see it. You can see it there. It is likely. I mean, it always happens. But
Right.
you see somebody that is clearly struggling in a really severe way. It is something happened. Some
Yeah.
some sort of pain, some sort of trauma that they don't have the tools to reconcile,
Mm,
right? All that means when we're wearing this stuff on our body, it means that we are using food to solve a problem, to try to solve a problem that it will never solve.
right.
So when I'm coaching people, I'm like, when you come to me, you just gotta accept some things as true. You might not believe them right now, but you have to accept a few things as true off the bat. First of all, everything you believe now about food is a lie. Just
Mm,
accept that it's the truth. Everything you believe and think is a lie. And we start from the ground up and rebuild.
yeah.
Purpose is nutrition and nourishment. Nutrition, nourishment, energy. That is the only problem. That is its only purpose. That is only
Right.
purpose. The
Right.
only problem it will solve is hunger. That's it. That is its only problem it solves is hunger. Accept
Yeah.
those three things, and then we can start. But now you have to start. Now you peel back from that. You got to recognize what real hunger feels like. You got to. A lot of
Yeah.
times we don't know we mistake hunger for frustration, for anger, right?
Yeah.
For resentment, for disappointment, for shame, for guilt, for all that shows up in our stomach. And we think because we're conditioned by this toxic food environment that everything that shows up in our stomach, we need to put food on it. We
Mm,
think that everything that shows up in our stomach is hunger and that food is
yeah.
the only way to solve it. So we aren't given the skills to really identify what's actually going on in our bodies and where it shows up.
Right.
So we have to be able to differentiate between hunger and the other thing. Then once we figure out the other thing, then we have to learn how to deal with the other thing. Because once we deal with the other thing, right, then the desire to eat goes away. People say I'm an emotional eater, right? You're an emotional eater, then follow this plan. No, if you're an emotional eater, figure out what the emotion is and deal with the emotion.
Right.
So this toxic food environment, this weight loss industry has people so focused on behavior, and
Mm,
behavior alone is not ever going to get us where we need to go. We have to focus on belief system.
yeah.
We have to focus on skill mastery, mastery of emotion and mastery of food. Those two things, right? And it's hard, but it's not undoable because
Right.
once you get on the other side of mastery, this stuff can be fun.
Mm,
People fall down and they have a problem because they get to this place that's called maintenance, and they're like, oh, I'm in maintenance, and they feel so bad about it, and it's hard and all that. But it's not about maintenance. It's about transformation. Because when you are
yeah.
transformed and you enjoy it, it is not hard.
Right.
It's just like, and I'm not really going to give a sports analogy, but I am going to give a sports analogy.
I love it.
But you think about these high performing players, right? The Venus Williams, the basketball players, all those guys. They were practicing in the beginning and missing shots, right? And it was hard when they were little kids.
Yeah.
They were learning. They weren't performing like they are now, right?
Right.
It is the same thing. I play tennis. When I first started playing tennis, they didn't even make tennis clothes big enough for me, right?
Mm,
And the ball was hitting me in the face. It was always going out of the over the fence. I picked up more balls than I hit. Nobody wanted to play with me because I wasn't any good. But
right.
I was watching other people and they were having fun. I was like, they what do they know that I don't know? I can do that if they can do it. So I practice. I practice. I have played tennis all over the world, right?
Right.
I'm not like some like superstar, but I'll play with anybody that's on the court, and I can wear the cute tennis outfit. But that is because I have reached my level of mastery, and it is fun. And
Mm-hmm.
it is the same thing when it comes to food, right? When we get to the point where we realize that sugar is poison and it doesn't
Mm,
do anything to support our life, health, and strength. When we understand that about the unhealthy fats, when we start understanding that about the processed foods, when we fundamentally understand that that stuff is not nutritious or nourishing, there's no reason to ever eat it because it is life destroying and health destroying. And when we start seeing that, we don't care if the colors of the packaging is colorful, and it looks pretty, and we used to eat it, and my grandma
right.
made it. We don't care about any of that. We just look at it and we make a determination: is this going to cure me, or is it going to kill me? Is it going to heal me, or is it
Wow.
going to hurt me? What is it going to do for me? Ask those questions, and when you look at it, then you can make a decision that's based on your health and nutrition and not in addiction. And that's where the mastery comes in. And it becomes fun because you know that you're making a decision that is going to save your life.
Oh, Michelle, for real. Like this is a coaching session for me, right? I'm not even joking. Major coaching session for me right now because I am the epitome of a sugar addict. Like gotten a lot better with it, but and it's like everything you've been saying is like ding, ding, ding. I am a, you know, I like to say a thriver and I've thrived beyond sexual trauma in my life as a child and all these different things that have taken place. And it's like hearing you say all this is like, oh my gosh, like this is me. And I'm pretty sure someone else is listening to this and is like, this is me. Like
Mm-hmm.
what in the world? And even down to the idea of really asking those questions. Is this going to what did you say? Is this going to harm me or help
Is it
me
gonna,
or
going to heal me or hurt me?
heal me or hurt me?
Is it going to cure me or kill me?
That's the one. Is it going to cure me or is it going to kill me? That hit me like a ton of bricks because I feel like sometimes when it comes to food, especially a lot of people that I grew up with and people in my family who've had different like health issues, food was never on their minds as being the thing that's killing them or
Mm-hmm.
that could possibly cure them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now that we know much more, And we still see people in these spaces that are not even in a position to ask, is this going to cure or kill me? I'm just like baffled by it in some ways, because it's just like, at what point do we as a society start really raising awareness around that? But it's like, but there's so many other things that are in the forefront that are hindering that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you add this Alicia is another podcast, because
Yeah.
this is about big business. This
Yeah.
is about the processed food lobby. This is
Yeah.
about the sugar lobby. This is
Right.
about that. It is not about our health. So when we think about it, like this society is built to make us into addicts.
Mm.
So I'm gonna do a quick little history lesson.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna do this first. So it starts early. It starts early with advertising to children at an early age, sugary products.
Yeah.
Even in infant formula. Why is sugar in infant formula?
Right.
Right? Why is that? And it's addictive. So we've got starting at an early age, advertising it to kids, and they make the stuff addictive. You look at the research, in some research, sugar is more addictive than cocaine.
Mm.
And all it is a highly addictive substance that has no nutritional value, yet is in everything, not everything, but it's in so much stuff that it doesn't need to be, because it is cheap and it's addictive. So
Mm.
it makes the taste better, so people will continue to buy it and buy it. Yeah, let me put a little sugar in this, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's addictive. So
Yeah.
it starts early, it's advertised over and over again. So if you hear it over and over again, buy this, get this, it's good for you. And then they connect it to a they create memories on TV, memories
Yeah.
that you want to dive into, hanging out with your friends, hanging out with your family, good times and a smile. You start associating that addictive thing at an early age, because it's been advertised over and over to something that feels good to you.
Mm.
And it's everywhere.
Right.
And the reason that it is everywhere is because of this. In the 1980s, when the government started to regulate the tobacco companies, when they started to regulate
Hmm.
the tobacco companies bought into the snack food and the junk food companies. They bought into the snack food companies, and they applied their addiction business model. It is an addiction business model
Mm.
to the snack foods and the junk food companies. They formulate the food to be addictive. They
Right.
formulate it so people can't stop. Blaze, I bet you can't eat just one. You hear that over and over again, right? But that's true. They
Yeah.
spend billions of dollars programming people to think that, to hijack
Mm.
people's brain, to turn people's brains into an addictive brain. So
Wow.
all of that, the sugar, the fat, the salt, the advertising, the formulation, addiction hijacks our brains and changes our brains so that we process information differently. And so since we process information differently in this hijacked brain, we have to rewire our brains to make it non-addictive. And regular weight loss programs that just focus on behavior don't do that. They
Right.
bypass the brain completely. They'll have a little sentence that says, "Do some, keep a food journal and a log." Right?
Right.
You get one little line. Well, that thing right there, that's the thing that saves you. That's how you rewire your brain, with the thing that they don't focus on. They focus
Mm.
on eat this, don't eat that. How count your calories, count your macros, work out, walk, all that stuff you have to do. But you have to do the brain work first, because if you
Yeah.
do the brain work and the belief system work first, then it allows you to follow the plan. It
Right.
allows you to change what you fundamentally believe about food so you can make the right choices. But if you're just trying to be strong and deal with willpower in this environment that is constantly reprogramming your brain to be addictive, that's why you fail. That's why people fail. That's why it's so hard, because
Yeah.
you are struggling with behavior when you need to lean into belief system.
Wow.
It is like this. There are countries where they don't eat cows because cows
Yeah.
are sacred, right?
Right.
And I every time I say this, I forget the country, but you know which countries I'm talking about. They don't eat cows because they're sacred. So you can take them to Ruth Chris, you can take them to Texas Roadhouse Steakhouse, you can take them to any steakhouse, you can Morton's, any of them. You can put a T-bone in front of them, you can put filet mignon in front of them, you can put any kind of steak in front of them. They're not going to eat it. They don't care about the status, they don't care how much it costs, they don't care about any of that because their belief system says cows are sacred. I don't eat that. You can't tempt them, right? You can't sabotage them because their belief system says that's not who I am.
Right.
And so they don't care about the status. They don't care about any of that. They don't care about the marketing. They don't care about the advertising because their belief system is cows are sacred. I don't eat that. And when we get to the point where we say, my body is sacred, my thoughts are sacred, I'm sacred, I don't do that. I don't care what everybody else is doing. I don't care that it's Thanksgiving. I don't care that it's New Year's. I don't care that I'm on vacation, right? I don't
Right.
care who made it. I don't care that I used to eat it. I don't care that it's on sale. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what it smells like. I don't care about that because I'm so sacred that I'm not eating it.
I'm rarely speechless. Like seriously. But this this is just amazing to me because I'm thinking about so many things as it relates to like even my vegan journey. That was a little difficult for me with family and them understanding when I would come to events or go out to dinner or whatever. That was a process. But for me, it's been the sugar because I can always connect with my family with sugar because that's desserts and all that kind of stuff. My family and they'll eat vegan dessert. So it's easier because then they'll compromise on that. Now their food like chicken and all that kind of stuff, they're like, girl, you on your own, like that vegan stuff. I mean, they'll eat it sometimes, but overall they're like, but I can connect. That's my connection with my family is having that dessert. That's something I have to work on, right? But I wanted to talk to you about that. Like when you started making these changes, was there pushback like from your family or even friends that and how did you work through that? Because I feel like in some ways, I think a lot of people are hindered in that way because they're like, if I let go of this stuff, I'm gonna lose my community. Like what did that look like for you? Yeah.
Is that I'm the chick that used to go out to dinner, right? And I would order dessert first, right? I order dessert first and eat it. I might order it after dinner too to take home, right? Because guess what? I'm grown. I can eat my meal in any order that I want to, right? So, but that's emotion, right? That that's an emotional thing. I'm entitled to this. I'm desire this. I can afford it. I work hard. I can eat what I want because I can do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and that was addiction talking, right? That was addiction talking.
That Michelle, you just don't even like you were like blowing me away because that I never even connected. I just thought that was me saying, "No, I deserve this, and I'm getting this," and not realizing that. Wow. Okay, continue. I'm sorry. Like I'm.
Yeah, yeah. So here, so here's
Wow.
this. Addiction is a liar.
Mm,
Yeah, addiction is a liar, and makes some stuff sound like what it is, but it ain't. It's addiction.
wow.
Yeah, it's nasty. It's nasty. So this thing with family, and here's what I want you to understand. I didn't just wake up one day and be able to do it. It has certainly been processed over time.
Hmm.
Having clarity and understanding and keeping my mind focused on what it really is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this. A couple years ago, I dated a guy who was much younger than I was. And we didn't date for very long, right? But anyway, I saw him. He was like interested. And he was fine. He was like cute. And I was like, oh, look at you! I guess I'm a cougar. He's interested in me.
I love it.
He's interested in me. So yeah, right.
Right.
And so, we go out for a little while. And as we were going out, I started to notice things about him,
Mm,
right? Things about his character and things about the kind of person that he really was. And those things were distasteful to me. And it became really clear to me that he wasn't the kind of person that I wanted in my world or wanted to be around. I didn't care how handsome he was.
Mm.
And in fact, the more I hung around him, the less handsome he became.
Wow. Wow.
And that's how I feel about sweets, the same way. So,
Mm.
we are conditioned in this culture to make decisions about what we eat based on appearance, taste, and smell, not
Yeah.
nutrition. And
Mm.
remember what I said.
Yes.
If I work with you, if you work with me, the only reason to eat is nutrition, nourishment, and energy. Accept
Right.
that. And if I look at something and I know that it's not nutritious, not nourishing, then I'm not going to eat it because the only reason to eat is for nutrition, nourishment, and energy. And so if I look at it and I see that it has sugar in it, and I know that sugar is more addictive than cocaine, I know that sugar breaks down the organs in my body. I know that
Mm.
sugar is addictive. I know that sugar is not going to give me the body that I want, the health I want, the life I want. Sugar is going to impair my cognition. Sugar is going to impair, sugar leads to diabetes. You can go blind eating sugar. They cut off your limbs when you get diabetic.
Right.
So when I look at a piece of pecan pie, that's what I see.
Mm.
In the old days, I used to see something else, right? But now,
Right.
what I just told you is what I see when I look at pecan pie. When I used to go to Starbucks, Alicia. I go to Starbucks. I'd get the lemon pound cake, the pumpkin bread, and the banana bread, and I order coffee with Splenda.
Wow.
Now, how crazy is that?
I'm laughing because I used to go to McDonald's and get, my meal and all that supersized, and then I get a Diet Coke, make me feel better.
Right? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Right. And so there is a particular kind of freedom that
Mm.
comes in being able to go to Starbucks now and stand in front of that thing, that pastry thing, and for none of it to mean anything to me.
Mm.
Because when I look at it, I see that it's poison. I know that it's poison.
Right.
And I can stand and I can go out to dinner with other people and know what they're eating is poison. I'm not trying to push my beliefs on them, but I know
Right.
I'm not denying myself the pleasure of the taste of that. What I'm doing is I'm protecting myself and saving my life from ingesting that stuff that could ultimately kill me. And when I say
Right.
kill me, I'm physically yes, but when we start consuming this addictive food, this addictive stuff, what it does, it separates us from our emotion. And we are spiritual beings. That's how it kills us, because it
Yes.
kills our ability to connect to who we really are, because we don't know what it feels like to feel authentically. People say, oh,
Mm.
I'm authentic, I'm unafraid, I'm unashamed,
Right.
unapologetic, and then say, oh, but I'm not gonna say anything. But give me the double size,
Yes.
right? Yeah. But she thinks she all that, but I'm not gonna tell her. I'm not gonna tell her about herself because blah blah blah. They give
Right.
me all this work. I'm gonna do it, but I'm and they not charging. They not paying me overtime. I hate these people at this job. Where we going to eat, y'all? Right. So
Right. Right. This is crazy. Wow.
so whereas if we were connected enough and believed in our voice enough, and we said, you know what, Mister Supervisor, Miss Supervisor, let me talk to you about this workflow. If we
Right.
did the workflow like this and we did this and you add blah 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 blah, maybe we could come up with some better processes so that people could do something that could be more efficient. Next thing
Right.
you know, because you let yourself feel the pain, you didn't eat yourself through it, you didn't protect yourself from it. Your mind is open to come up with a solution to a real problem. And now guess what, you got to raise because you came up with a solution rather than eating to cover up the fact that you were dissatisfied.
Yes. Wow. I know. I mean, this is just like hitting me so hard, left and right. This is like unreal. Wow, Michelle. Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm I'm like just like in awe right now. Seriously. Because it's just like that is like so common, right? Like we will vent to people only so much, and not the person we really need to be addressing. And then in the process of it, because the feelings get to be too much, girl, where we going to go eat? Or let me go get a drink or whatever that looks like, right? Because it's like to really go in and be like you said, just really break it down in the way of like, okay, how am I going to make this better for myself? I mean, feel the feelings and then figure out a way to make it work. So this will be something that's beneficial to everyone else. And like you said, then eventually there could be a point where you could get a promotion or you could whatever. Things can be enhanced on all levels because you address it in a way that's more constructive as opposed to
Right.
like, you know,
Right.
I don't even know the word, but like just something where it's going to be cause more harm than good.
Yes.
You know?
And so, but here's what's so powerful about this is that once you get this mastery, once you get this skill, once you understand this on a fundamental level, it affects every other area of your life, not just how you manage food. Because this isn't what I mean. It's about what we're eating, but what we're eating and why we're eating it. It is just it's micro.
Mm,
This has macro implications that people just do not understand.
right.
When I'm coaching people, we talk about the food, but what we really talk about is like we go through every week we go through a different emotion. We go through a
Right.
different emotion and how to process that in a food environment, right? As it
Mm,
relates to ourselves, because once we learn how to manage ourselves, then we can manage the food. So it's not about the food, right? It's about managing yourself.
yeah.
And that's the work. And you do it in community. You do it in a safe place, right? Because you
Yeah.
asked earlier about what do you do when you with friends and family, or you learn the language. Sometimes we don't do things because we don't have the language to do it. We
Yeah.
don't know what to say. So we practice that, right? That's what I call no is the new yes.
Right. Mm, yeah. Right. 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 Yeah. This is so true. I love that. And I love the fact that excuse me, that you were even saying to the idea of like waiting for someone to confirm your no. I think that's another thing too. And I also feel like some people might be afraid to say no because they're fearful of someone not confirming it. So it's like, let me just go with the flow, not ruffle any feathers. I'm just gonna eat this peach cobbler, and then maybe the next time I'll do it. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, right, yeah, yeah, right. What are we doing here? I said no. Like, right, 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 right. Wow. Wow. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Right. 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 Huh. What? Right. 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 Yes. Wow. Right. 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 Yes. Right. 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 Exactly. Right, 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 mm, right, 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 right. Oh my gosh, Michelle, listen, I literally am like so bummed, but I could talk to you all day, but I have to wrap up. I have to wrap it. No, this is. I hope you can come back because I want to talk more just about your book, like different things like that, like what inspired you to write your book. Like I hope you could come back at some point. This was life changing for me. I seriously thank you so much. Oh my gosh. But before we go, can you let everyone know where they can find you, websites, social media platforms, and I'll share it in the show notes too. But yeah, take it away. mm, Oh, thank you. Thank you. No, and I am grateful for you. Like you have blessed me so much today. You have no idea. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I cannot wait for you to come back, y'all. I know you were blessed and just changed in some way. And if not, listen, you got to tune in for the second time then, because I'm telling you, if you weren't blessed today, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And y'all, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Eat Me podcast. I will see y'all next week. Michelle, you are the truth. Thank you so much.